You press the button on the app and it vibrates and makes a noise. There we go.
And it looks absolutely amazing stood at the front with all those steps and the arches.
That hat just reminds me of the soaring video before you get on.
And then behind us is the Washington Monument, and then beyond that is Capitol Hill and all the museums where we were this morning.
To a new video. We are waking up in Washington DC and we're going to go and explore the city. We're going to go to the Washington Monument, Capitol Hill, and all the top sites in DC. We think we're going to look at Lime scooters because there's some straight outside the hotel to get around today, but we'll see when we get out. Nick's just sorting the GoPro out.
Well, I've got a chest mount and I've got a head mount, but it means I'm messing my hair up. But you can wear it.
Oh, I've just done my hair. I've just put my hat on because it's 0 degrees outside.
Exactly. So you can wear that.
It's odd. Just up top for a bagel with cream cheese in the hotel cafe downstairs. Decaf Americano. Nick's here too.
Just bought our Lime passes for today.
Yeah.
Right, so these are showing all the bikes around Washington. We're right there. So there are a number of bikes. There's actually 2 outside the front door. Scooters, yep, sorry. And we bought a pass. So we've bought the 30-minute pass, which lasts for 3 days from the first use. We've got 3 days from now. 30 minutes rides and 0 unlocking fee. So that's going to get us around. Depends how much we use it, so we're not going to put too much on it just yet. But 30 minutes to start us off. Works out at about 14 cents a minute. Right, so there's actually a scooter just outside the door. So to make sure that nobody else takes it, I've actually reserved the bike. I've booked it, which you can do with a pass for up to 30 minutes. So we're on 27 minutes, 47 seconds now.
Right, this is Nick's Lime scooter. So you press the button on the app and it vibrates and makes a noise. There we go. So we know where it's from.
Right,
and it's basically directly across from our hotel. I got one that was down there, I think.
Right, let's go find yours before I turn mine on.
Oh, there we go. There's my ride.
Right then, you get yours, I'll meet you down there. The best way to get around Washington. Lime scooters. Right, I've locked the bike. We've done 1.2 miles and 16 minutes and 14 seconds and saved $5.93 on our pass.
Yeah, so here you have to lock the bike somewhere and take a photo to send it to Lime to avoid a $25 fine by the city.
Yeah. So the Capitol Hill is just behind us, and then we're going to start making our way down the mall, which is back down towards Lincoln Memorial, right at the other end. Wow, that is some massive building. So just looking up some of the facts on it, it was basically, the central section was completed in the 1800s and then burnt down a few years later at the 1814 burning of Washington. The building at the minute currently houses on the south wing the House of Representatives and the Senate on the north wing. The massive dome was completed in 1866, just after the American Civil War. It's one of the buildings at the heart of the American government, and it looks absolutely amazing stood at the front with all those steps and the arches. I don't even know whether this is the front door or the back door. Right, we're almost at the centre. When the statue lines up with the Washington Monument, there we go. We're bang in the centre, and if you turn around now, we're bang in the centre of Capitol Hill, minus the scaffolding.
Well, the area is called Capitol Hill. The building is actually called
the United States Capitol Building, but the actual neighbourhood is called Capitol Hill. Right, so our starting point today is going to be here at Capitol Hill, and then we're going to work down the National Mall. Starting on the left-hand side of the National Mall, we're going to go to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum and also the National Air and Space Museum, which are both next to each other. So let's go there.
So we're here at the Capitol Reflecting Pool. Now all the reflecting pools are unfortunately drained for cleaning in winter, so there's no water in it. It is winter at the moment, so it is drained, but if you come in the summer, there'll be water in the reflecting pools.
This is one of the small ones. The main reflecting pool is actually right in front of the Lincoln Memorial, which we are going to go down later on today.
So there are actually 74 different museums in Washington DC, and the majority of them are free entry.
Right, so we're at the Smithsonian Natural History Museum, which is very similar to the one that we saw in New York. And it's got a T-Rex in here, and it's got a whole load of things that we've put on our list that we want to see. This time we have a little bit more longer to look around than we did in New York, so it's nice and warm. Let's go.
Right, so that's the whale in the museum here. Nowhere near as big as the whale in New York's museum, but it's impressive all the same.
Look at the skeleton.
It's the North Atlantic right whale by the looks of it.
Look at the whale skeleton there.
That's a whale skeleton?
Yeah.
Wow. So that skeleton is actually 40 to 35 million years old. So an interesting fact about whales, it says, did the whale evolution go backwards? They were actually mammals millions of years ago whose ancestors lived on the land, and then they ended up going back to the ocean. As you can see there, they used to have legs, and then they lost them.
So that's our future. Back into the sea.
Maybe. This is a 2 to 3 year old giant squid.
Absolutely gross. Is that actually in water as well?
It says there, is it real? Yes, it was caught in a fisherman's net in water. So this is a replica of Lucy, who was 3.2 million years ago, and one of the earliest human skeletons found. That's what we used to look like.
Blimey.
You don't look that much different from it now, Nick.
I'm saying you've got that much hair on your back, so...
Right, we're going to see what Nick looks like as an early human.
Touch the early human.
Choose the earliest.
Right, that's the early human. That's Lucy's.
That's the earliest.
Yeah, but I want to know what I would look like as a Lucy.
You are becoming Australopithecus afarensis, who walked upright more than 3 million years ago.
My forehead's gone. No different. It just looks like me when I'm not out of shape.
I'm going to be...
Homo.
One, yeah.
You are becoming Homo
I'm becoming a homo.
heidelbergensis, direct ancestor of modern humans.
So a direct ancestor, so... you just look like you when you've not had a shave, same.
It's just the eyes and the mouth that it keeps.
It's completely fascinating looking at the different eras of human species. And now look at this one. This is a woman, and that is her average height. She doesn't even come up to my waist, and that is this is the height of an average female of this species, and lived between 700,000 to 50,000 years ago. It's tiny. T-Rex is the largest meat eater in the western North America. It feasted on pretty much anything, dinosaurs large and small, including plant eaters, and then all the other dinosaurs got what was left over. Nothing could actually take down a healthy T-Rex.
So the next thing we're going to see is the one thing that I wanted to see in this museum, and it's the Hope Diamond, better known as the heart of the ocean. I'll tell you a little bit more when we get in there.
So since it was found in the early 1600s, the Hope Diamond has crossed oceans, continents and passed from kings to commoners. It was recut and reduced in size twice, but has steadily increased in value. And it still looks just like it did when Rose dropped it into the ocean at the end of the Titanic film.
So on a serious note, the Hope Diamond wasn't the same jewel that Rose dropped into the sea. The film actually did base it on the Hope Diamond, but it looks exactly like it, but the whole of the history in Titanic is completely and utterly fictional. It wasn't even referred to as the Hope Diamond, it was just modelled on that. Right, so the Hope Diamond actually entered the United States in 1912 and then passed from multiple owners, and then in 1958 it was passed to the Smithsonian, and it's only actually left here 4 times. That was the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History.
It's a tongue twister.
A proper tongue twister. So the next place we're going to go, if you are a friend of Dorothy, you may like this. Stay tuned. Right, so literally next door to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History is the Smithsonian National Museum of American History.
That hat just reminds me of the Soaring video before you get on.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I feel really old because I used to have one of them.
I've got an Etch-a-Sketch 2 somewhere, I think, in my mum's attic.
Etch-a-Sketch 2?
No, I've got one.
Oh, right. I used to have one of them as a kid.
That is $100,000 bill.
I wonder if it's spendable now.
Could do with a few of them.
$500. Look at the size of it. It's like Monopoly money. That's what Barry edits on.
The first time I've ever seen Nick get excited about a doll's house.
It's a doll's house for a millionaire. Look at the number of rooms in it. Look at the detail as well. Like, even the dogs in the bedroom, the rugs, the kid's doll's house within the doll's house, the attic full of junk.
So we're just walking through the America on the Move section, which is all about transportation, travel, and cars.
Right then, so I said earlier on in the vlog, if you are a friend of Dorothy, something for you to see this way.
The ruby slippers from the Wizard of Oz. They're not very sparkly, are
They
they?
look a bit dusty. The actual ones from the film from 1939. Here is the very first Kermit the Frog made from Jim Henson's mother's green coat and a pair of old blue jeans. So here is the very first costume that George Reeves wore in the TV series Superman in the 50s, I think it was. And I've just checked, George Reeves and Christopher Reeves were not related.
Oh, it's Elmo.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that Sesame Street?
Yeah, an Oscar coming out of the bin.
Right, we're out of the museums and we're now going to make our way to Arlington Cemetery. So we're going to head back and pop on some more Lime scooters. Right, so half an hour later after driving around on a Lime scooter and almost getting to the Arlington Cemetery, which is where we were going.
500 yards.
The app had some kind of malfunction and wouldn't let us park the scooter anywhere, so we had to come all the way back, almost to where we got it.
2.5 miles back.
And lots of other people were saying it was doing the same thing, so might have been a Lime malfunction today. So now we're on our feet and going towards the Lincoln Memorial. Is that right?
And then we'll walk to the next bit to the Arlington Cemetery.
Yeah.
So a little bit backwards than what it was.
But we are getting to walk through this nice park, which we would have missed before. Very close to the airport by the looks.
So we're now stood in what would be the reflecting pools in the summer months.
there'll be water here. And you can see the Lincoln Memorial behind us, which is where we're going now.
And then behind us is the Washington Monument, and then beyond that is Capitol Hill and all the museums where we were this morning. I think it's about a 2-mile walk, or a mile and a half, 2 miles from one end to the other. But we're going to show you around the Lincoln Memorial now. Right, behind me is the Lincoln Memorial. It was built in honour of the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, who was actually assassinated in the Ford's Theatre. Hopefully we'll get to see that at some point during this trip. We're going to go inside now and have a look at the statue of him, which is actually sat inside. It is open 24 hours a day. You don't need tickets, so you can just turn up here anytime you want.
So this memorial opened in 1922, and it features on the back of pennies
And $5 bills, and has been in a multitude of movies. One that Lee has just remembered.
Yeah, I always remember it. I think it was the Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg, where he gets back and he thinks he's come back to the USA and like the timeline's restored, but then he comes in here and there's a monkey's head on the top instead of Lincoln's.
I've never seen it, I believe you though.
And this is the view from the top of the steps of the Lincoln Memorial.
But it looks amazing when the reflecting pools are fully full of water. Right, we're just about to walk into the Arlington Cemetery. It was established during the US Civil War. It's currently got 400,000 people buried here. It's run by the US Army. It's one of 2, I believe, in the country. 639 acres long, and they're still carrying out funerals at 30 per weekday, 7 on a weekend. So when you go in, you'll recognise it from a lot of movies and things like that.
Right, Nick's just getting our Uber to the next destination. So we looked around the Arlington Cemetery. We saw the graves of JFK and Jackie Kennedy, and you saw the eternal flame, which was lit by Jackie Kennedy and later replaced with the eternal flame, which has been lit ever since.
I don't think I've ever seen a queue as long in my entire life. The taxi driver could have pulled up about half a mile up the road and saved us a bit of money. We just literally had to walk back the queue. There must be 2,000-3,000 people in this queue. Well,
A couple of them.
no, hundreds, no chance. So it's a 3 p.m. queue, and we are literally at the next museum up the street. At this rate, by the time we get through security, we will not get to the next one, which we've got booked for 4 o'clock, which is the Ford's Theatre. So who knows whether we'll get there.
Oh my god, we've got inside and we didn't even know they have the studio model Starship Enterprise from the original series. We both lit up like giddy little kids when we saw that.
Yeah, but I don't understand. There's no lights on. You can't even see it properly. You'd think it would have like light to light it up, wouldn't you?
So it's actually called the Real Enterprise.
Oh my god, I hope the Enterprise D's in here.
Go to Adam Savage's YouTube channel. He has a thing.
This is alright, isn't it, for an old plane?
Reminds me of an Indiana Jones film.
It's quite comfortable.
Toilet. Looks exactly the same as a toilet nowadays.
Well, yeah.
Same. Oh, 2 toilets. Very posh. It's got the smell of library books.
Yeah. These boots are the last human-worn object to touch the surface of the moon. Eugene Cernan, I think it's called, wore them on his 3 spacewalks in December 1972.
Look at them switches.
The amount of buttons.
That's where the engineer sat. Look at all the buttons on the ceiling. I think they're all like fuses, aren't they? Like circuit breakers and things like that.
Scary how many buttons there are.
They're not very comfortable. that was the cockpit from a 1970 Jumbo 747 Boeing.
Right, we're out of the Air and Space Museum. Unfortunately, two of the big hangars closed for renovation at the moment, so we're not sure what we missed in there, but we're happy that we saw the Enterprise.
Yeah.
We're off to our next destination now, which is Ford's Theatre. So we're in Ford's Theatre, which is the assassination place of President Lincoln. But before you get into the theatre, there's a museum that you can look around telling you all about Lincoln and what he did, what his presidency involved. It involved the abolition of slavery. So we made a boo-boo error. The actual theatre is actually closed today because they're rehearsing a show. It's still an active theatre, but on certain days you can actually go into the theatre. So we've looked around the museum, and now the next stop is Peterson House, which is where Lincoln was brought after he was shot in the theatre, and then he died the following morning.
So this waiting room was where Mary Lincoln, the president's wife, waited. After she went upstairs to the bedroom, she waited down here to see what was going to happen. This is the actual room where President Lincoln died at 7:22 a.m. on April 15th, 1865.
So we actually got shot the night before, just after 10, and then they carried him across the street, and this is where they tried to medically save him, and obviously failed.
So he survived the night and then died the following morning.
It smells of garlic.
Yeah.
So as you come down the steps, there's this tower of books, which is kind of in honour to the fact that there's more books written about Abraham Lincoln than almost anybody else, and more being written every day. So that is a tower of Abraham Lincoln books.
Currently 15,000 in print.
Yeah, and also an interesting fact is that there is no living descendants of Abraham Lincoln, because his sort of like children died, and they died without having children and things like that. Right, now we think we are done with all our historical sites of Washington DC.
My feet won't do anymore.
We've had nothing to eat since that half a bagel and a coffee this morning at about whatever time it was, 9 a.m. It's about, what time is it now, 5 p.m? We've had nothing, so I'm a little bit dehydrated. So we're going to go for some food.
He's had a miserable face since we left Arlington Cemetery.
I need some food and water. Right, we've made our way into Capital City Brewing Company, and Nick's got a dark cherry beer. I'm interested to see what it tastes like.
Dark cherry, cherry blossom in it.
Yeah. No, dark cherry. Sweet dark cherry.
Just tastes a bit.
Does it?
Yeah. It's not really fruity.
And I went for the Dreamweaver, which tastes a little bit like Blue Moon. We've ordered a pizza and a salad to share. We've walked 10 miles today, bleeding knackered.
Right, my pizza's arrived. I'm going to try it. You can never be too careful with different types of pepperoni. Some are spicy, some are garlicky. And this is red hot, so I'm just going to give it a try.
Red hot.
The Mariana sauce is really nice. The pepperoni is average.
I got the chicken, walnut and apple salad. Look at the size of it. It's so good. I've already had some of the chicken. It's amazing. Oh my goodness, we couldn't resist. We went for apple pie. It's got cinnamon on it, I think. Ice cream, a little bit of cream, and
Caramel.
2 spoons. We're going to share it.
Love a bit of mint on an apple pie.
Nothing better when you're in America than having an apple pie, because it's always doused in cinnamon, and it literally tastes like I'm eating a cinnamon.
Oh, we made it back to our hotel and we're having an amaretto sour, which Nick had last night.
We forgot to tell them no foam.
Yeah, we've got foam this time, which is egg white.
So we hope you've enjoyed our day around Washington. We're absolutely exhausted. We've walked 10 miles today. We looked on our app, but we've enjoyed it and we've seen a lot of sights. Of course, when you're only in one city for one day, there's lots of sights that you have to miss, and there's lots that we could have seen.
Sacrificed a lot.
But we've enjoyed it. It's a beautiful city from what we've seen. Very clean, very modern, and definitely a nice place to go. I would like to say it's got a chilled vibe to it. If you come for a few days, I imagine it would be very chilled. But we just had the one day. We're heading off tomorrow to the Blue Ridge Parkway.
You'll get it eventually.
We're going to drive down and have some chill time.
We've got 2 days to drive just through it leisurely, stopping at different sites, doing a few sort of hiking trails, things like that. No rush at all, and the next hectic city will be Charleston.
And if you've never had a black cherry, I recommend getting one.
You had my cherry last night, didn't you?
They're so sweet. So thanks for watching today, guys. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell, drop us a comment below. And we'll see you on the next USA video when we are driving down the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Cheers.
Bye.